Good
There
morning,
he
sir.
Good morning, gentlemen and ladies. How are you?
is. Good
Very
morning.
good. Thank
Good
you.
morning.
Well, David, we'll let you go.
Oh, okay.
Hello,
Morning,
David.
morning, legend. How are you?
What's going on this morning? It's 20 degrees where I'm at this morning here in Pittsburgh.
Right. It's a tad warmer here, but it's a tad earlier as well. But yeah, all good on the left coast. Um, First of all, thank you so much for joining us. And
Thank you for having me, David. I'm looking forward to this.
well, it only occurred to me a couple of days ago that we're rapidly approaching the 30th anniversary of your first IndyCar victory. I wanted to ask, first of all, what do you remember of that epic day that seemed to finish at about 8 or 9 o'clock in the evening?
Wow, I'm surprised you remember that. Yes, it was 1994 in Surfer's Paradise. It was a great, it was a culmination of a lot of things coming together. Michael Andretti came back to IndyCar racing as our driver after a stint in Formula One. And we had a new car that year with the Reynard. It was uh, it was just a memorable weekend from many, many aspects. It was really a lot of fun in those days to start the season in Australia, at Surfers Paradise there. It was a good way to start in the sun and the fun of the Gold Coast.
Mm-hmm.
The V8 Supercars was a fledgling series at that time, just getting going, and they were a great series to have alongside as a support series. And I just remember it was just a lot of fun. And the race, I'm trying to remember, there was a delay of some sort, but we went into the evening. The sun was going down, and it was beginning to get dark, but we were leading the race, and Michael won the thing. And I'm pretty sure they went the distance. Now that
Yeah,
as I
that's
remember,
right.
yes.
I mean, something we've come to know you for is making decisions that might surprise us at the time, but then prove to be very shrewd and canny and not too far down the road. At the time, obviously, Lola and Penske were the dominant chassis in IndyCar,
Right.
and you introduced the Reynard and win on its debut. Uh, what, I mean, in a way, I feel that you've been kind of like had that kind of forward thinking
Mhm.
policy all along. And how satisfying was it for you to get that
You
score on
know,
chassis debut?
It was a time when, there were a couple, three or four different car manufacturers, and, Reynard was dominating the smaller formulas.
Yeah.
They'd come up through, like most of us, they'd come up through Formula Fords and, Super V, which was a equal to Formula 3 at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And then, Formula 3000, they were very good. So they were very good at all these sort of stair step levels of cars, and they really had all the tools to go into IndyCar racing. And at the time, uh, their engineer at the time, boy, his name's on the tip of my tongue. I can't believe I can't remember his name.
Well,
Uh,
well, I'm trying to think who was
great guy, Australian. Oh,
right.
geez. Anyway, he retired from racing, oh, I can't believe I can't remember. Anyway, we added we had Bruce Ashmore on the project as well. He came over from Lola, and
Yeah.
I remember the biggest thing we had to talk Adrian into was understanding that on that oval track racing, the only design change we made on the car was were the wheel nuts. Screwing the wheel nuts in on the left hand side of the car, the opposite direction at the time, and that was really the only change we had to make on the car. The car was a world beater right off the bat, and
Mm,
we sold a bunch of those. I was the importer at the time as well for
right.
Reynard, and through 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, something like that, 5 or 6 years, we sold a hell of a lot of cars there for those guys. So
Yeah,
it was a nice time in the race. And the other thing people have to keep in mind at that time, you had Reynard, Lola, and Penske all building chassis.
yeah,
You had Ford with the Cosworth, you had Chevrolet with Ilmor, and Honda was just tipping their toe, and they had just entered the series, I think, in 1995.
yeah.
And so you had three chassis, three engines, two tire manufacturers. It was a heady time for IndyCar racing for sure.
Absolutely. Now, obviously, you're also known for taking uh, not gambles, but chances on drivers who you believe show a lot of promise. Obviously, Dixon had spent just a short period with Pac West, and Alex Palou has did just 1 year with Dale Coyne Racing, and here we are. They finished first and second in the championship last year. And can you imagine at a time now when IndyCar is so incredibly tight? Could you have even foreseen that Palou would kind of like dominate the way he did in 2023? Because it seemed unbelievable to me that he could build up such a huge points lead.
Right. I think no one, you always plan for that and hope for the best. But I mean, if you were to tell people that was your plan all along, they'd think you're a little crazy. I mean, we just, my hat's off to Mike Hall and the guys in Indianapolis. They work week in and week out on a daily basis and of just getting the most out of they can that particular day. I think that's the most important thing. Racing has, there's so much sideshow in racing these days that I think, we have to be careful that we have to be careful we don't concentrate on what's important about racing. And to me, what's important about racing is winning. And winning is important. Championships are important. Indy 500s are important. And that's what racing is about. It's not about, the sideshow of everything else. And so we at Chip Ganassi Racing, we focus on winning.
Right. Now, over the going into 2024, you've got you've expanded to 5 cars, and you have a crop of youngsters there. Obviously, Marcus Armstrong has 12 races under his belt now. Linus Lundqvist has 3, and Kiffin Simpson's an absolute rookie. How would you assess their chances in such an exceedingly tight championship, and at a time when, even with the introduction of the new spec engines, testing is quite a premium? How
question. Yeah, I mean, I think our plan is, we obviously have Dixon and Palau as the seasoned veterans, if you will, and we have some young people coming up that I think have promising futures. And when you can work alongside, guys that have 8 or 9 championships between them, and some sports car wins and what have you, it's not often you get that tutelage, if you will, from veterans like that who can help these young guys come along, and that have quite a bit of, the young guys have quite a bit of runway. But I would think I'd be hard pressed to say that Dixon doesn't have runway left, and Palau has a hell of a lot of runway left. So, so these guys, we're just planning for the future and yet keeping an eye on what's right in front of our nose as well.
Now, as a former IndyCar driver yourself, obviously you've also proved adept at seeing what it takes to bring in a driver that has immense potential, someone like Dixon. Do you encourage new or relatively new drivers like Armstrong, Lundqvist, or Simpson to work with setup what your team gives them, because your engineering staff are so well proven, and because Palou and Dixon have already worked with the team in a certain direction? or do you prefer a race engineer to tailor the car to what the driver needs or thinks he needs?
That's a good question, David. I'm glad you asked that. I mean, I think it's a combination of both, really. I mean, we know we we think we have a pretty good book of what we know in terms of a car setup, what works and what doesn't work. Having said that, each car setup is personalized to that particular driver. So so I think we have sort of a field of play, if you will, in terms of the setup.
Mm-hmm.
And, we know not to go a little bit too far out of bounds on the left or out of bounds on the right. As long as we're in the field of play, we can get to the goal at the end. And, I think that system has proven well. But at the same time, these young drivers have a lot to bring in terms of experience and keeping us current. The one thing you don't want to do in racing is rely too much on on old tricks. You have to be open to new ideas. You don't want to be old dogs that don't want to learn new tricks. So that's what's great about having these young guys. They come with ideas. You just look at them a little cross-eyed and say, "What?" And but you never know. Sometimes it works out. The combination of the young and the veterans, I think, makes a formidable team.
You've elected to run 5 cars in 2024. It sounds massive, logistically demanding, and comes at a time when teams have struggled to find engineers and crew members with adequate experience. Has that issue now eased?
I don't know that it's eased. I mean, I think you're always looking for quality people. There's always room for quality people, and there's no room for people that don't know what they're doing. And but I think no, I mean, you know, the, let's face it, being a race engineer is a very narrow field. Can be very lucrative for young men that want to be involved in it. But it's not as if these guys are out walking around the street that are available. And and also in a team like ours, that's been around a while, it's hard to bring engineers in right at the top level and for them to assimilate quickly. It takes a lot of work on our part and their part to bring them in. And we're not interested in you have to balance bringing in talent and on one hand bringing in talent, on the other hand you're running a school, to teach these engineers what we think as a team is important. And but the good news is there's still a fertile ground of young people. Just as there are young drivers coming up from smaller formulas, there are young engineers coming up as well. And it's important to keep an eye on those people coming along in the sport that start again in Formula Fords or Skip Barber or whatever in these smaller formulas, really all around the world. And they all want their careers to grow as well. And these are great opportunities for them.
Right. At a time when no other team will run more than 3 cars, do the benefits of running 5 full-timers, such as having a greater number of data sources in a season of technical change, does that help outweigh the difficulties?
We think so. We think, hey, 2 heads are better than 1, 3 are better than 2, 4 are better than 3, and 5 are better than 4. So it's all information in, and helps us disseminate faster.
New engine regulations for 2024. Some theorize that a do-over in any branch of the sport brings the field closer together and can throw up surprise results. Others reckon regulation changes favor big teams. Where do you fall in that discussion?
Yeah, I think it's I think you could argue. I could argue either side of that, really. I mean, I think it's somewhat of an equalizer, though. I would say it's an equalizer. IndyCar's done a good job of keeping the playing field level with all the teams. And now with the addition of hybrid, I think it's important we stay, I don't know that we need to be on the ragged edge of the front in terms of development, but we need to be on the front of development. And we don't want to stub our toe like you see the car companies going through right now with their EVs. We don't want to stub our toe and get too far out in front, but at the same time, I think it's important we accept new technologies and new ways of doing things all the time. Change is good. So I'm bullish about the hybrid, the move to hybrid. I think it's important for the sport. I think it's important optically, from a fan point of view about the direction the sport is headed. So I think it's a good thing. Yeah, but it's an equalizer. It's certainly an equalizer. We found with our experience in IMSA and WEC with our Cadillac team, you know, these hybrid systems are in fact ready for prime time, and they work.
Yeah.
So just a matter of getting a few little bugs out and understanding the nuances of working in those areas. And but they're ready for prime time for sure.
Now, equal. I don't know if equalizer is particularly what you what you would want to see, because it's 11 years since anyone other than a Ganassi or Penske driver won the IndyCar championship, and obviously your team has just finished a very convincing 1-2 with nine wins, and
9 wins, yes,
yeah, and yeah, between you and me, I think you were robbed at Indy as well of a 10th. Do you foresee any other team like Andretti Autosport or McLaren or Rahal being able to at least take the Ganassi Penske train at least down to the wire in the championship next year?
David, I don't know. I know about our team, but I don't know about other teams. I don't know what's inside these teams or what they're made up of, or I know that I see some of our team members. We lose one or two guys to these teams every year, and it's kind of a I learned one thing a long time ago. It's pretty hard to build a team from other teams people that leave. When you weed out the bottom 2 or 3% of your people, you can't build a team of those bottom 2 or 3, 5% people. That's a challenge. So I think it's impossible, in fact. So I wish these people well, and but I don't, but I'm really not. I don't know what these teams are made up of. They've certainly had their chances over the years. They've all been around a long time. And, I would have thought they figured it out by now, but apparently they haven't.
Yeah. Okay. Obviously, you touched on sports cars there. Embracing the hybrid era with the on both sides of the Atlantic. What were the biggest challenges about splitting the team in half, and having one car in WEC, one car in IMSA? Did you feel that was a dilution exactly when you most needed a whole lot of teamwork together on any given race weekend?
Anytime your team grows, I think people can point and say, well, there's some dilution here, or whatever. But the fact of the matter is, we were able to access some great people in Stuttgart. And so we have a little base over there now for our WEC team, run by Steven Midas, and who's an ex-Porsche guy, won Le Mans a few times, and had some access to some great people that have been great additions to Chip Ganassi Racing, and I look forward to a long association with a base now in Stuttgart, and I like that WEC series. I think I think it's damn competitive, and
Mhm.
I enjoy that. I enjoy the racing over there, and obviously we've had some experience at Le Mans, and but just now with our second year, or it'll be our third year now in WEC. It's exciting. Yeah, yeah, I like that racing.
Yeah. Do you is there a greater sense of satisfaction racing at the very front of the WEC field, in the prototype class, compared with, when you were campaigning the Ford GTs very successfully?
Yeah, I really don't look at it in terms of what class you're in. They do a pretty good job of it's about who you're racing. Whether we're wheel to wheel, in GT with the Ferrari, or here again we're in the in the prototype class now, fighting Ferrari again. And so it's all you want is a level playing field. All any team owner wants is a level playing field in sport.
Mm.
And we've done a good job of that level playing field. And I would suggest to you that it's just as competitive, in all the classes over there as it is at the front of the top class. So
Yeah.
I don't,
Did
yeah.
the would you feel that that actually, Cadillac's progress from, and your progress with Cadillac, from the start of the season to the end of the season, would you say it's now literally just a balance of performance changes that are needed to get turn the Cadillac into a winner in WEC?
I think, I mean, I don't want to air our laundry here on the on the webinar this morning. I mean, I think our team's growing. I think Cadillac's doing a great job of uh, of, of, of being a team player, and understanding long term what it takes to win in that formula. And
Mm-hmm.
we have to we're constantly pushing for more effort to do the right thing, and when the time's right, I'm sure we'll have enough coal to put on the fire when they're ready. Yes.
Right. Uh, how do you feel about how IMSA has adapted with its, the GTP era? Do you feel that the balances between the BMWs, Acuras, Cadillacs, Porsche? Do you think that that's something that might need tweaking, or do you think that there's enough strengths and weaknesses according to whatever given track you're at that you can tackle the 2024 season feeling like you're in a completely fair fight?
Good question. Yeah, I think on both sides of the Atlantic, whether it's in IMSA or WEC, this the good news is they with the balance of power sort of type racing, you can't argue with the fact that how many car companies are involved. Okay. I think at one time, I don't know what it is now, but in IMSA, there's, I think, 14 manufacturers, and
Mm.
I don't know how many in WEC, but probably close to the same. But I think, so but it's right you're exactly right. The BOP keeps everybody interested and gives everybody that opportunity, and but at the same time, you're right. When you have BOP racing, there are certain circuits you show up that are more attuned to a normally aspirated V8, or more attuned to a turbo V6 sort of formula. And no matter how much they take weight or give more power, it's not going to change much. Not going to change much over a 6, 8, 12, 24-hour endurance race. So,
Yeah.
but you certainly can't argue with their success in keeping the car companies, which are in fact the fuel for motor racing, are the manufacturers, and having those people involved in the sport is imperative.
We've got some questions coming up on the right, which I did assume also want to be thrown your way, and some of them are quite startling. One of them is Mr. Ganassi tempted to follow Gene Haas and Michael Andretti into Formula One? Has that ever crossed your mind as a sound business plan for Chip Ganassi Racing?
Yeah, I every time I have that urge to go into Formula One, I usually go lay down until that urge goes away. And, yeah, I don't, maybe if it was 20 years ago, maybe a different story if I was 20 years younger. But I still view Formula One as a series that wants everything. They want everything that America has to offer commercially, but they don't really want any American teams over there. So,
Right.
good for them, I guess. However they want to run their business is fine. But, I think I just wish they'd improve their racing there a little bit. Like everything is so great about Formula One. The technology and the venues and the teams and the personnel and everything. But boy, the on track could use some work, I think. The on track competition, yeah.
Someone else has asked, how do you see the evolution of your internship program going? And that also raises another interesting point. You're a firm supporter of women in motorsport. Is that something that you plan to develop in the coming years?
No question, our Women in Motorsports program has been a threshold sort of opening for women that that sure there have been women in motorsports prior to our program, and there are other programs, but we have our program is oversubscribed, and we've actually put women in other teams besides our own team with the PNC Women in Motorsports program. So we're happy about that. We have some other things in terms of vets giving this week. It's a 12-day campaign where we're raising money for veterans, and all the proceeds go to the American Legion.
Excellent.
So we have that vets giving program. We have a lot of great sort of adjunct programs to our sponsorship that we think are pretty exciting.
All right. Final point. Very sorry for the loss of a friend of yours, Kyle Leduc, in the last couple of weeks.
Yes.
I mean, it's just unbelievable news, and very talented man. In terms of Extreme E, is that something that still excites you? I mean, it's thrilling. It's thrilling to watch, but there are so many variables that I hadn't really considered in racing until I watched Extreme E. Is it something that still brings you satisfaction?
No question. I mean, the series is it's sort of a made-for-TV series, if you will, and it's with they're still fledgling a bit in terms of their schedule and getting their vehicle right and whatever. But I think the series has a bright future, and we'll see where it leads to in the years to come. I think Alejandro and Ali have a great program. They're hardworking guys that run that series, and they work very hard at it. And I wish some other series had the foresight and the hard work in mind that those two do.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for your time this morning, Chip, and much obliged. And enjoy what tiny little off season you have before IMSA kicks into life again. And thank you, and speak to you soon.
Well, thank you, David, and thanks everybody out there at EPARTRADE, and thanks for having me on, Francisc and Judy, and it's always fun to be a part of this program. Thank you.
It's always a pleasure to have you, and you are just so giving back to the sport, and makes me proud. Just
thank you very much.
You're so giving.
Thank you very much, Chip. Great honor to have you on. Thank you.
Great to see you.
Registering on EPARTRADE is easy. To start, click on the Join for Free button on the homepage. First, search your company to see if it's already in our database. If you see your company on the list, click on it to select it. Then, choose Claim Company if you are one of the decision makers, an owner, marketing person, or main company contact. Or choose Join Company if you are an employee, and press Continue. If you couldn't find your company in our database, select Register a New Company. On the following page, fill out your name, email, phone number, job title, and choose a secure password. If you chose Register a New Company, you'll need to choose your business type. Select Supplier if you're looking to display products or services and connect with buyers. Choose Racing Business if you're looking to source new parts and connect with suppliers. Choose Race Team if you own or are a member of a professional race team. Then, enter your company name. Please provide a website, Facebook page, or LinkedIn if you have one, and choose to either claim or join the company. You can view and agree to our terms of use here. If you'd like to receive our weekly newsletter, choose Accept. Finally, click Register Now and your registration will be submitted for approval. An email will be sent to your inbox. Please confirm your email address and you will be approved shortly. Welcome to EPARTRADE.